Hello everybody, my name is David Rispoli and I'm one of the marriage fitness coaches who has the honor of working with Mort Fertel. I want to thank you for taking the time out to watch this video, and I want to warn you right from the start that this is not a professionally produced video. In fact, it's 11:23 p.m. here in St. Louis, and but you know, I'm thinking about marriage fitness tonight, thinking about you. Throughout the years, I've had the opportunity to work with probably literally hundreds of marriage fitness clients, and the one thing that I've observed over and over and over again is your courage. Courage to continue to fight for your marriage, courage to love unconditionally, courage to put love first, courage to work on your own fixing and wait for your wife or your husband to turn their hearts back. One of the things that brings me more joy than anything that you can possibly imagine is when I receive an email or a letter or a phone call from a client whose marriage has been reconciled. Sometimes I have the honor of talking with the spouse who used to be obstinate, and I always ask the question, I say, well, what was the turning point? What made the difference? I want you to know I hear a common answer. Over and over again, I hear the obstinate spouse say something like, my spouse just refused to give up on me, or they simply kept loving me. It's so powerful. Maybe today as you watch this video, you're discouraged because it seems like your spouse is far from being at that place of reconciliation. Maybe today you feel like, oh my gosh, my spouse is never going to come back. And on this Valentine's Day, while you're surrounded by everyone who seems to be so happy and love is in the air and, you know, just hearts and all that stuff, well, today's a really hard day. Today's a day of pain. And that's why I'm making this video. How do you handle Valentine's Day? And so I want to share with you real quickly just three observations, three things that you might consider right at the start of today. And I hope that these three things help you. The first thing is I want to encourage you to acknowledge the day. You know, you've been married to this person for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And through the years, you know, you've always said Happy Valentine's Day. Maybe you've exchanged cards. Maybe you didn't. But the fact is you both know that today is Valentine's Day. I want to encourage you, acknowledge the day. Now, don't go overboard. This isn't an opportunity to put undue stress or pressure on your spouse. That's not what marriage fitness is all about at all. But there's nothing wrong with simply acknowledging the day. I recommend saying something like, you know, hey, I know that our relationship is not in a good place right now. And I know that this is hard for you as well. But I want you to know that today, on this Valentine's Day, I'm so glad that you've been in my life. And I want you to know that there's still a place for you in my heart. The recommendation I would give you is keep it simple. Again, don't go overboard. This isn't about putting undue pressure on your spouse. It's simply about letting them know that you still believe in them, that you still believe in the marriage, and that you're not giving up. Here's the second thing. You know, one of the things that happens sometimes in the midst of working in a Lone Ranger track or when your marriage is in a crisis, it's real easy to forget this truth. And the truth is that you're lovable. And maybe it's been a long time since you've heard those words, you know, I love you. But the fact is, you are lovable. And it would be really good on this Valentine's Day if you reminded yourself of that truth, that fact, that you really are a lovable person who's worthy and deserves to be loved. I'm not recommending that you say that to your obstinate spouse, but I am recommending that you say that to yourself. One of the wisest people that ever lived said that the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. And I love when he said that because it implies that there's nothing wrong with loving yourself. You know, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And I'm not talking about a selfish, arrogant love. I'm talking about a healthy self-love. So why don't you spend some time today celebrating you, celebrating that love that you need to have for yourself. And here's the third piece of advice I want to give you on this day. Even in the midst of the pain, even in the midst of everything that might not seem like it's going right in your relationship, I want to encourage you. Tap into hope. You can't afford to lose hope, even on this day. In fact, let this Valentine's Day recharge and refocus you and recommit you in your quest to save your marriage. Two places you can go to find hope. One of the places is on our website, the Marriage Fitness website. On the front page of that website, you're going to find over 20 pages of testimonies of relationships that were banged up, busted up, affairs, addictions, and abuse. And they found that this is a process, a program that works for them. It can work for you too. The second place to find hope is in your faith. Lean into your faith, whatever your faith tradition is. Don't give up hope. I want to close with a story that's dear to my heart. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and many of you watch the Super Bowl. One of the things that happens during the Super Bowl is this phenomena of the Super Bowl ads. And I don't know about where you were watching the game, but in the place that I was watching the game, they turned down the volume during the game. But it was during the commercials that the volume would go up, and everyone sat quietly and watched the commercials. My favorite commercial, actually was voted the best Super Bowl commercial this year, is the story about the Clydesdale. And as the scene opens, there's a little baby Clydesdale horse. And the next thing you see is you see this man who's the trainer. And the trainer comes along that horse and just starts to love on that horse. And you see a bond, even from the opening scene. The next scene is the horse is out running in circles and the trainer's out there, and then the trainer's feeding the horse, and again you're feeling the sense of love. One scene, the horse is running, it's getting faster and faster, and the trainer is driving in his car next to the horse, and he's looking at the horse, and at one point the man falls asleep, the trainer falls asleep, and the horse is nudging him with his nose. You get a picture of a bond, a union. And then one day this truck comes, and it's the Anheuser-Busch truck. And that Clydesdale gets loaded on to that truck. And the man stands there and watches the truck drive away. And it's a dark point in the commercial, and it's like, and your heart aches. 3 years later, fast forward, the man is sitting at his table, he's drinking a Bud Light, and he sees on the front page of the paper that the Clydesdales are going to be in Chicago. Chicago of all places, Wrigley Field. So he jumps in his truck and he drives to Wrigley Field. And he hasn't seen his horse for 3 years. And he's standing there, and all of a sudden the Clydesdale horses are coming by. And he sees the horse, and the horse just kind of trots on by. Well, the crowds disperse, the parade is over, and this man walks back to his car. And you have this sadness, you think, wow, it's over. It was almost anticlimactic. Then the next thing you see is that Clydesdale breaks loose, and it begins to run down the road, and it runs up to that man's truck, and the trainer jumps out of the truck, and he hugs that horse. It's an awesome, awesome scene as he's reunited. I think about some of my friends who work marriage fitness. And they're at that place where they're sitting at the desk, and it's been, 3 months, or it's been 6 months, or maybe it's been a year, or maybe it's been longer. And you're beginning to wonder, wow, can this ever get turned around? I just want to be a voice in your life today, on this Valentine's Day, to say don't give up. Continue to hold out hope. Because it's very possible that as you're sitting there, the universe and things are falling into place, and the love of your life is coming back. I pray for your reunion. I pray for your marriage. I want you to know that after that commercial, they did a survey, and first of all, they wanted to vote on which commercial was number one, and it won hands down. But then they needed a name for the commercial. They needed a name for that horse. Do you know what they called it? They called it Hope. That commercial was called Hope. That horse is called Hope. My prayer for you today, on this Valentine's Day, you be encouraged by this message, and that you wouldn't give up hope. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.